Well, last time we talked about board game designers. Well, we're going back to board games again. We're going to be talking about some awesome science fiction Euro games. So we're talking about Euro games right now. And it's funny, I think the term Euro game and all the other categories of board games that have come along over the past, that we've used in the past, they're kind of antiquated at this point.
Well, they're constantly shifting because as people develop games, what is considered a Euro back in the day was so dry.
And it was so weird.
It was so like, it's such a very defined thing. And it was essentially, the description was, it's a boring game.
Right. Kind of.
And now they made him like, great. They mix all this stuff into a Euro.
It's funny because I actually looked on Board Game Geek.
Oh, we did some research for once?
I wrote down on this pad what Board Game Geek's wiki for Eurogame actually says. So let's see if it makes any sense whatsoever.
That's pretty cool because usually there's just dirty doodles on there.
Well, he has boobs at the bottom there.
It's true. All right, so the first one on the list here is player conflict is indirect. Usually the conflict comes from resources or points. Well, that's not a terrible one.
No, I mean, getting victory points and fighting over resources, that's not bad. That's interesting.
It says little randomness or luck. Player choice is sort of favored in a Euro game, which...
I think they would still have that now.
It still has that, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's randomness thrown in every now and then, right? Like Stefan Feld uses randomness a lot with the dice rolling and then you have to pick, but everybody's beholden to the same randomness as opposed to just some random dice roll. And then Chris could get lucky on the next turn.
It's my turn. I roll the dice and I'm like, yeah, I just got $10,000. And you roll them. You're like, oh, I just got $1.
Yeah. Okay, so here's where they get weird. Designer's name is on the box.
Wow.
Literally, that's one of the bullet points. Designer's name is on the box.
So every Eric Lang game is a Euro now.
Yeah, right. Yep.
All right.
Well, that's antiquated. And I think it even says in that under the bullet point, that's kind of old. Anyway, okay. All right. So the next one here is much attention paid to the art and components. Usually there's no plastic or metal. There's only wood.
Oh, well, that's changed.
Yeah,
that's
changed
a lot.
Certainly has. And it's weird that they would put a category of games in like, okay, it's got wood, so it's got to be a Euro.
Yeah. I mean,
is weird.
It has no plastic. So it's definitely a Euro now.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, huh? And okay, so, and then the theme has little to do with the game. It's mostly about the gameplay.
Okay.
I can kind of see that, but I think...
it's not theme heavy. That's essentially what it's talking about.
True, but I think...
You just get rid of that.
True, but I think that in this day and age when designers have progressed, to actually focus on some of the things that were criticized, because some of those things would be criticisms, right?
Yeah.
Like the theme is light, but it's all about the gameplay and mechanisms being very good in the game. They would like to have both, right? So I think that's where all of these definitions started to wane a little bit over time.
Mm-hmm. Well, the one thing I always say is when I want a Euro, I go into the store and I look for boxes with the designer's name on them.
That's right.
Like, that's a Euro right there. Look at that.
It's funny because they have games now that have designer's name on them that this is our first game.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
So
now,
what is a Euro to you, Steve?
In my opinion, a Euro is a game that, it's a strategy game. And first and foremost, that's it. It's a strategy game. There's not a whole lot of individual combat going on. Like, none of these Warhammer games where you have little models running around whacking each other would be considered a Euro game. They're very strategy oriented. The theme, historically, the theme was kind of bland. But in this case, I think that there's so many hybrids out now that you can have a strong theme in a Euro game and still have it be a Euro game.
Sure.
I think the foundation of a Euro is that there is some sort of engine building going on with your strategy. Now, whether you're building up an empire on a board that you're spreading out with, like a civilization style game, or whether you are, building up resources to go to outer space. I mean, you're still building up some sort of machine.
Okay. So engine building is a key component in your Euros. Okay. Chris, since you're going to be doing the list today,
I'm going to do all the lists.
Right. Well, just this list.
All right, I'm doing the best list. There we go.
Of course. You always say that. Mine is always better every time.
It's true.
But okay, so what is it that makes a Euro for you?
Resource management is a big thing for me. And that kind of is what draws me to Euros in general. And that engine building plays into that. I love building a good engine and seeing it come to fruition, and suddenly I'm gathering all the resources I need. I think that is the biggest thing. And the randomness, I don't mind randomness we're all beholden to. I don't mind that at all. I think that's actually interesting. But randomness for individual players needs to be gone or extremely small. Because to me, when I'm playing a Euro, I'm crunching numbers. It's basically doing a puzzle. Whereas Ameritrash games, I'm just having a good time and just running around killing things. Here, I'm like exercising my brain to solve a puzzle. And I don't want it to just randomly be broken because I rolled a die bad.
Well, all right then, Chris. Since we kind of know what you like into Euros, let's talk about some science fiction Euros. What are your 3 recommendations for sci-fi Euros?
All right. Well, number 1 is Battlestar Galactica because it's the best. No. All right. Number one. This is a fantastic space game because all mine are space games. I love post-apocalyptic and steampunk, but space is where it's at. Eclipse. Eclipse is a fantastic space game. It's a 4X game where you have asymmetric players that have all different powers that affect the game in different ways. They all are aggressive or non-aggressive, but they're fairly well balanced in my opinion. Asymmetry in a Euro is kind of like, But in this one, kind of like Gaia Project, they do it really well. So I like it. You've got to manage your economy. So you're gathering resources, controlling planets, determining whether you want to go up on like science or whether you want to go up on income. There's that whole aspect of the game. And something you like, Steve, and I think you would like this about Eclipse, is there's combat. You're researching tech, you're powering up your ships, you're going out, you're shooting other people's ships down, and you're blowing up other people's planets. It's got tile placement, exploration, fantastic game. I haven't played it in a while, and that makes me very sad.
Well, this is the perfect example of why Euro games, the definition of Euro games has changed so drastically over the years. Because this game, I would call it a Euro game. Because of all of the management you're doing of your civilization, the population, the income, the science, and you're using all of those resources that you've managed to beef up your civilization, right? When you take the identical style game of Twilight Imperium and you remove all of that stuff and put in the more thematic stuff, like the Ameritrashy stuff, that's the difference, right? Like, so it has these cool mechanisms in it. It becomes a Euro at that point. It's a hybrid, of course.
It's definitely a hybrid. I mean, and it has the individual randomness too. I mean, you can mitigate it a lot by upgrading your ships and your shields and everything else. But when you go into combat, you're rolling dice and fighting. But to me, the big part of the game is managing your economy. If you screw that up, you're dead in the water.
For sure.
You can't do anything.
And this game is not new. The Eclipse has been out for some time now.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a new version coming out soon.
Oh, yeah. It was on Kickstarter, and it looks good.
It's going to be awesome.
I'm gonna get it. I'm going to get it. I have to. I love it. I love Eclipse.
It is fun. It goes back to the thing I said to empire building or civilization building. This is it. You're building your space empire. You're spreading out. You're building a machine. It's great. I love it.
If you're the stupid plant people, you just build out a giant path that no one can get to, and you win the game.
You need to beat them with the weed whacker people.
Exactly.
All right, great pick for number 1, Chris. I wholeheartedly approve. Your list is already better than the other lists we've heard from so far.
That's right.
Thank you. If it wasn't, I'd be scared. All right, number 2, Jamie. This is a game you introduced me to, and I must say I really, really enjoy this game, and not a lot of people talk about it. That is Space Foundry.
Underrated game.
Extremely underrated game. And it does have some stuff in it that I think could turn some people off.
Does it have dancing in it?
No, sadly.
Because it reminds me of that video game you used to play. You're out in space dancing.
Space Channel 5.
That's it.
Oh, that was great. That was such a fun game. They had Michael Jackson in it. You would get Michael Jackson and he'd dance with you.
Why does that remind you of that in any way, shape,
I have
or form?
no idea. I've never played this game. So every time I hear the name, I think of that.
Okay.
I don't know why.
All right. Well, you're not dancing or zapping Michael Jackson, so he'll come dance with you or anything like that now. In Space Foundry, it plays over 2 phases, which I thought was very interesting, but is also the thing I think could scare some people away. Because the first phase of the game, the first half of the game essentially, is you're going out and you're mining resources and sending your ships out and bringing your ships back with resources back to the space station. And then the second phase of the game, when that triggers, is you're using those resources you gathered and making products that people come and buy.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't plan well in the first phase, you're going to do poorly in the second phase.
Because you can't get more resources because you've left the mining station and gone to the manufacturing station. You can't go back.
Yes. Exactly. Yep. So, for example, I would never play this game with Tony or teach it to him.
Because he would yell at you.
Because he would yell at me when we get to phase 2. I didn't tell him how to win the game. But no, I thought it was fascinating. And even though I felt I didn't do as well as I could the first time I played it, what attracted me to it was that I was intrigued that I wanted to try it again. Mm-hmm. Knowing how the actions you take in phase 1 affect how you do in phase 2, I think I'm going to do a lot better. I think I'm going to appreciate it more. And it had those interesting card mechanic where you'd have a hand of cards with numbers on it, and that determined where you could go in the station. You wanted to play them at the right times.
They were like your crew members. Yeah. So you could hire more crew members, go to the tavern, buy some crew members to give you a different action style. And it was cool how the shuttles would operate. Because you'd fly the shuttles out. So there's a circular board in the middle of the board, the table. And then the asteroids are circular boards away from there. So when you're flying through space, you're going off of the board and onto the table to the other board. It's kind of cool. It was very thematic how the whole thing worked.
It was totally unnecessary.
Yeah.
But it was cool. You know, it was cool that they thought about it and did it that way. And I liked it. And the stuff you would build was kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. Like, I think some of them were like mechs you could build. Some of them were stupid, like CD players or something like that. It was... Merchant of Venus. It was like they took all the items, the trade goods from Merchant of Venus, and just threw it in this game.
Music videos for Earth.
So yeah, Space Foundry. Steve, I think you would like it. Yeah. I mean, the theme is something you could probably get behind.
I like sci-fi. It sounds pretty interesting, and probably what I'll do is dance while I'm playing it. You know.
Why don't we go to the
okay? Anyways. Moving on, hopefully this does not remind Steve of dancing in space. All right, so the third one is from one of my favorite publishing companies, Mind Clash Games. And this is Anachrony, a game about time travel, going back in time and trying to rescue your faction before the apocalypse hits.
Ooh, love time travel games.
You've got giant mechs that your people are riding around in, going back in time and doing stuff.
And mechs aren't killing each other, though. The mechs are going out and collecting resources.
Yeah, they're going out and getting stuff. But
that's all right, because I also like doing stuff.
Yeah.
It has some interesting mechanisms around time management, because you can request goods from the future, but then you eventually have to pay them back. And in doing so, you score points. The fact that it kind of is almost like Euphoria in the sense that you have workers that are placed out there that you have to bring back at some certain point. And you can bring them back nicely, or you can just kick them in the butts and make them go back to work, and they get grumpy.
Give them time off, or you can just say, like, get back to work.
Yeah.
So it's basically like using a credit card. You use future money, but then you have to pay it back.
Pretty much.
That is part of it, yes.
Hopefully you pay it back.
I think that that's really what makes this game really stand out from the crowd, is the fact that it's a time travel game that really kind of feels like you're traveling through time. Like you're literally going, what is it? You're going to the future to give yourself stuff to use.
No, you're going back to the past to give yourself stuff to use.
Right.
But then you have to make sure it gets back to the future.
Because you create an anomaly because it's not there.
Exactly, because it's not there. The other thing is you're taking buildings and every player has different powers that kind of focus them in certain directions. So you're not all driven to just be like, oh, well, this building's the best building, I'm going to go there. And everybody's fighting for it, because every faction kind of has a building or a strategy that they want to, not that they're forced to, but it kind of gives them a bonus. You know, if you're going to go down the water path, here you go. And every faction also has 2 leaders they can choose from that have different powers. So I never found that there was any balance issue with the asymmetric leaders. And there's a lot of expansions out there that add like adventuring, so you can send your mechs out on adventures.
That's awesome.
We never played with any of those expansions.
No, we haven't.
We have
And
to do that.
Yeah, it's another one of those where I play with new players almost every time, so I don't get a chance to break out the
Seems like we
expansions.
do that all the time.
I know, it
It's like
is.
every time we play a game, it's like, well, there's 3 new people.
Yeah, I'm not going to teach them the game and the expansion because it'll blow their mind. Like getting your head around Anachrony, the base game, is hard enough.
That's why Chris has like a 99% win ratio because he keeps not playing with the same people
that's
over
right,
and over and over again.
That's what I do. And then I play with Tony.
I think he played it with his daughter's kindergarten class. He spooked him.
When I start losing a lot, that's what I do. And then I feel better about myself.
Yeah.
But Anachrony.
That's a fantastic game. Perfect choice. I am delighted by your list, Chris.
Thank you.
I am not going to say it's better than mine. I'm not going to say it's worse than mine. It's a great list.
It's better than yours.
It's better than Steve's.
Steve's pretty. Steve's is pretty.
We'll
bad.
stick around. We'll see about that.
Speaking of Steve, we should just get to Steve tomorrow, right?
All right, let's do it. All right. Well, join us again tomorrow where we hear about Steve's favorite science fiction Euro games. Good night, everybody.
Thanks so much, everybody. If you've enjoyed this video, please do us a giant favor by subscribing to the channel and clicking that wacky bell icon. If you're into board games, miniatures games, role-playing games, we have a bunch of audio podcasts you might enjoy. You can find those at thesecretcabal.com or on iTunes and Stitcher.